Oh, you guys, I miss you. I legitimately really miss you. This is really hard. It's hard for a lot of us. Hard for all of us, let's be honest. Photography hopefully can be an outlet for you. Hopefully this can be something that you find joy and comfort and a little peace in. We all need hobbies. I'm big on everyone having sort of a go-to thing that they like to do. Maybe for you, that could be photography. Even if we're trapped at home or you're just out very little, right? You can take pictures outside as much as you can. I know the national parks are still open, things like that. Yeah, they might be a little busy because that's like the only place people can go now. But there is some venturing out you can do. Now, I'm not advocating for you to do anything, unwise. Don't go out in big groups of people, right? You're smart about this. We'll all figure it out. We're doing fine with it. I want you guys to know that photography can be what hones you in, right? There's so much anxiety going on right now. There's so much fear. There's so much existential crisis. I want you to know that photography can be a thing that grounds you, that roots you. Now, we're getting to the tail end of the Colorize project. I've gotten a lot of great emails, great responses on Canvas. If you have any questions about it, how it works, I think I explained it pretty well in the last video, but if you're still stuck, that's fine. I want you guys to know that I'm here for you. If you have any questions, concerns, reach out to me either on Canvas or directly on my email. I'd like to, if I could, go over to our Canvas course real quick and just explain a couple of things. Number one, I put a new announcement there. I am putting up a new assignment. That's the explanation for this one. Let me just reiterate these last couple. I feel like they're important, not just for you as a photographer, but you as a human being, right? We need to make a human connection. Number one, don't let the anxiety get to you. There's so many things going on. We just barely heard about an earthquake in Idaho. Maybe some of you guys have some family and friends and loved ones in Idaho. It was even bigger than the earthquake here, right? That could cause some anxiety. Knowing that people around you might have the virus. Yeah, that causes anxiety. I get that. Especially that distancing we have to do. I talked to my neighbors just a couple days ago over the fence, right? We were a safe distance away. We were just talking and I was like, man, I miss this, I think that's, one of the things that causes me at least the most anxiety. But this whole thing is a huge break in your routine, right? There's a lot that is trying to let us down right now. Don't let the anxiety get to you. Fall in love with hobbies or interests that keep your mind occupied, or else really you will go stir crazy. And maybe some of us are already starting to feel some cabin fever. And like I was saying, let photography be that outlet for you. Second, keep to a schedule, right? Keep a routine. Stick to a schedule that seems familiar to you. What do you do in the morning? Well, early in the morning, I still get up at the same time I did when we were physically going to school. I wake up, I shower. I can't go to school every day, but I take the dog for a walk, right? And that's my routine of going to school. So, what are those things that you have been doing or you did do that you could keep doing? I know it stinks to wake up to an alarm, especially if you don't have something to wake up to. Number one, look forward to something. Do something that you can look forward to. But yeah, wake up to an alarm and treat it just like any other day, or else you're going to fall apart. I really said it here. Check in with people too. If you treat this like free time, just to play video games or be lazy, it really will eat you alive. So be careful of just kind of letting this be free time, because free time might sound like a joy. It might sound like this great thing. Oh, great, I get to let everything go. But eventually that will just tear you apart, okay? So, actually be motivated, be consistent. Not to treat it like nothing's happening. Of course things are happening around us. And it seems like there's new news about crazy things going on every day. But that doesn't mean that you should be just kind of letting the whole thing fly, right? So number 3, I always say, break up the monotony with something unexpected. Surprise yourself by breaking the routine once in a while. Spice it up and keep life interesting. I'm always trying to think of new things, just kind of break up the monotony. I might, just sort of do something out of the blue. Not anything dangerous or stupid or anything, just something that just kind of breaks up my monotony. Yesterday, I talked to a totally random stranger, right? I was at the store and he said something and I leaned over and kind of responded back and we ended up making a great conversation out of it, and we waved to each other in the parking lot, and I was kind of missing that social interaction. But if I didn't kind of force myself to do that, it may never have happened. The other thing that's going on that I've been doing is, you've probably seen on the Canvas page or on YouTube, is down below here. I've been making these daily videos. In fact, I just barely filmed another daily video. You'll see that come up in a little bit. Watch those. I know it sounds silly, right? Here's Miller being this goofball, and he must be having a midlife crisis or something because he's making these videos. No. I'm making these for you, right? I'm making these for whoever watches. And if 2 people watch, whatever. If nobody watches, that's fine. But if you do watch it, hopefully that's kind of like a connection to you and I. How many connections do we have besides the people within our sphere of influence that we're quarantined with? You know what I mean? So keep it lively. And one of the things that I've found is just to break the monotony, making videos. I've been playing drums a lot, playing music, playing along to CDs and stuff. So find something that you're interested in and go with that. Find some hobby, some interest. And don't just go to like video games or whatever. You do that all the time. Find something that's really kind of breaking the monotony, something that's totally different out of the ordinary. The last one, number 4, think physical distancing instead of social distancing. I want you to maintain your social connections, right? I hate that name, social distancing. It's like we have to alienate ourselves. In fact, one person I did try to strike up a conversation with yesterday was kind of weirded out. They were like, oh, a human is talking to me. Well, yeah, I crave human interaction, and probably so do you. So, just be willing to put yourself out there, texting your friends, getting on social media and, seeing how people are, especially maybe people you haven't talked to in a long time. I need to text my grandma lives in Idaho. I need to call her and see how she's doing, right? Maintain those social connections. So don't let the physical distance limit your social interactions. Like text people, right? Get to know people over the phone or just catch up with people through social media. Keeping to those things, I've challenged myself to make a video per day. That's this video down below. To break up the monotony in your day, and kind of in my day too. And so you have something to look forward to in your routine and for my routine. Honestly, you guys are awesome. I miss you terribly. Stay safe, stay well. Okay, so the assignment for this next portion, today is, well, I don't want to date stamp this, but okay, fine, I will. Today's April 1st, some April Fool's Day joke we're going through, huh? But today's April 1st, and through the month of April, I will have you be doing this assignment. It is the portfolio project. You're going to love it. You're going to absolutely love exploring new territory in photography. Maybe it's stuff that you have never experienced before as a photographer. Put yourself out there, try new things. You might like it. Okay, so let's go through the project. And to get there, I'm going to go to assignments. All right. So we're going to go to the portfolio project. Okay, and here's our video that we're doing right this very second. A good photographer will keep a collection of their work to advertise to potential clients. A typical portfolio will have around 20 to 30 images in it. Any more than 30, and there are too many photos to really be a summary of their work. Any less than 20, and the portfolio doesn't really demonstrate the breadth of their ability. And I've seen both, right? I've seen professional portfolios that have hundreds of photos in it, and it just feels like you're scrolling through their Instagram feed. But I've also seen portfolios that only have maybe 3, 4, 5 photos in it. And I'm like, show me what else. I want to see if you're a good photographer, right? After about 20 or 30 photos, you can start to sort of understand, oh yeah, I get who they are as a photographer. And that's basically this project. I want to see who you are as a photographer. We've had an entire quarter, right, to basically explore who we are, develop our artistic handwriting as a photographer. Now it's your turn to demonstrate that to me. You know, what do you do? What do you like to do? Or maybe try some things that you've never done before and see if they work for you. Maybe they don't. Maybe they, you know, maybe it's like, oh, I tried macro, but yeah, I don't like kneeling in the ground all the time to look for bugs, or you know, things like that. So I want you to focus on the things that are kind of cool to you, or maybe try some out and see if it works, and then you could include those in your portfolio. So let's get into the specifics of it, the specifics. The procedure, okay? Pick categories of photography styles that interest you. Maybe you love portraits, right? Now, we can't exactly go around tons of people right now, but at least we can, you know, connect with some people that we're self-isolated with. Long exposures. Try taking pictures at night with a long shutter time. Action photography, event photography, architecture, right? Fashion photography. We'll get into some of these so you can see them up close and understand what they mean. But if you don't have much experience in some of these, or you've never heard of some of these, look them up, right? You don't have to do every single one of these. You don't have to like do 1, 2, 3. You don't have to do like each of these, like one of each. That's not what I'm asking. I want you to pick categories of photography styles that interest you. Maybe you love portraits. You want to try landscapes. You're not sure about macro, but you'll try it anyway, right? And maybe all 20 to 30 photos are those 3 categories and that's it. Or maybe you do want to try a little bit from everything. Oh, I felt that one coming. All right, let's take a look at 30 types of photographers exposed. Which ones are you? You know, and you might have some that really that you connect with, maybe some that you don't connect with all that much. So let's go through and find them. 30 types of photographers exposed, right? There's fashion photography. I never understood modeling or fashion, but you could be a fashion photographer. You could be a landscape photographer, right? I don't know if there's a ton of money in landscape photography, but you could definitely enjoy it. Wildlife photography, right? Taking pictures of all sorts of wildlife. Aerial photography. This is more doable than ever. Back, 30 years ago, if you wanted aerial photography, you would hire an aerial photographer. Now a lot of people just have drones, right? So you just fly around and take all the pictures you want in high definition, right? And you have to be some crazy pilot. No, you can just, fly your little remote control gadget. Action photography, sports photography. I have a previous student that a couple years ago started getting into sports photography, and he started doing all of the Ironman competitions and stuff, and now he's getting hired consistently to do all of these triathlons and stuff. Not now because we're all stuck at home, but in his usual grind, he does all sorts of different competitions and stuff, and makes very good money at it. Pet photography. You might think, wait, there's not a whole genre of photography for that, right? Is there? Well, actually there is. Think about it. If you wanted to just put your services out there, say as a general photographer, there are so many, there's thousands of general photographers that can do any kind of photography. But if you specialize in a thing, when someone's looking for that certain thing, they're going to go to you instead of the whole pool of thousands and thousands of photographers, right? So a pet photographer, yeah, maybe you could actually be a pet photographer and you specialize in dogs. So at your studio, you always have dog toys and treats and things that are like specialized for that. And then if somebody's going to call you, for, hey, do you do babies? I don't do baby portraits. I have dog treats here, right? Or vice versa. Maybe you specialize in baby photography. I've gone to a baby photographer. My wife and I, when we took baby portraits when one of our children was born, And we had a blast there, and that's all she did. She had blankets, she had changing tables, she had like all these different things ready for babies. It was very cool. So yeah, there is some sense in specializing. An event photographer, bless their hearts. I always like to think of event photographers as like the fly on the wall. They're the extra set of eyes that, the photographer is the extra set of eyes for your, you're too busy if you're, planning the event, you're too busy making the event happen to notice all those special little details. Same thing with like wedding photography too. Real estate photography, you'd be surprised, real estate photography is good money. It's actually kind of easy money too. Maybe I'll just give you, can I just give you the formula? Okay, if you're going to be a real estate photographer, you treat it like long exposures, right? You do a low ISO, the aperture is what really depends to let more or less light in, and then the shutter time should be like a second or 2 seconds long. And you're thinking, well, wait, a long exposure in the middle of the day? Yeah, actually. I talked to a real estate photographer that did this kind of strategy. He said, treat it all like a long exposure. You might have to close down your aperture real far to get the right amount of light in, but over the longer time, more natural light can come and bounce around the room. So it doesn't seem like, this creepy, like one single light that emanates, but the light that's there has more chance to kind of fill the room. So it looks more natural, it looks more inviting. So, if you know a real estate agent, maybe your parents are real estate agents, and, you could say, hey, can I take pictures of some of your listings, treat them like long exposures, work on them in Lightroom, tweak the levels so they look really nice, high dynamic range with lots of details in the lights and darks. Then you can end up with a really cool photo. So real estate, definitely a thing you can do. Architectural photography is actually slightly different. When I think of architectural photography, I think of more taking the art, like the artistic side of the architecture. Really taking it not for face value, like a real estate agent, here's the bathroom, here's the bedroom, whatever. But architectural photography is more like taking the the art, the beauty of that building. Astrophotography, sure, if you're an astronaut. Photojournalism, boy, photojournalism is so cool. You see, this one's in black and white. There are a lot of black and white. Let's go into photojournalism right here. Okay, so you see a lot of this is in black and white. Photojournalism has to do with like reporting the news, reporting. It goes beyond just like reporting the news. It's really like capturing the emotion of the moment, making people think twice about what's going on around them in their world. It's pretty awesome. So this photojournalism, and sometimes photojournalism is hard because you're seeing just these incredibly powerful moments that you're like, oh, I want to help, but you can't because like that's not your job. Your job is to document it and take it home for people to see. I don't know if I have the guts to be a photojournalist. I have too much heart. I have too much empathy. Not to say that they're not empathetic people, but just it takes a certain amount of courage to see just such dramatic things. You be a concert photographer. That's incredible. Yeah, get paid to go to your favorite concerts. Or not so favorite concerts. You might work for a venue that just, hey, take pictures of this concert, whether you like the music or not. Macro photography, right? Macro is not just bugs. Here's I just Googled macro photography, and here's the set that came up. It's not just bugs, right? Close up, anything close up. Macro, right? We are looking at the world out around us. Well, macro photography is looking inward at the world. Instead of outward, we look inward at the world. And just noticing details that you wouldn't notice otherwise, right? Getting up really close to eyes or bugs or plants or crazy things that maybe you wouldn't notice otherwise because you're so close. Almost like looking at life under the microscope, so to say. Yeah, macro photography is insanely cool. And you end up with just these very cool, like perfectly timed photos Like this looks fake almost, but no, somebody actually spent the time to wait for that to happen. Very cool. Yeah, there's a lot of pictures of bugs, but it's not just bugs. It's just getting this like super, super shallow depth of field. That's beautiful. That's really cool. Very close up on a dandelion. Very cool stuff. By the way, you can spend a lot of money on studio lighting, macro lenses, special cameras and stuff for this kind of stuff. And oh my gosh, you can spend so much money on macro. You can spend tons of money on any photo equipment, really. Some other careers, right? You can be a medical photographer. You take the pictures for surgeries, that would go into a medical textbook, or documenting for research projects or things. Micro, sure. Oh, school photography. Speaking of not having the guts to be certain types of photographers, I can't say that I've ever enjoyed one of my student portraits, like as a kid, as a kid in school. But yeah, bless their hearts, those people that take photos of kids every year. I mean, you don't like them. I don't even know if they like their job. Who knows? I'm just kidding. They're fine. But school photographers, right? It's a certain breed, I think. But if you wanted to get into that, totally. It's a good avenue that you already know kind of the skill set. Aperture and shutter speed and how to work in a studio, white balance and things like that. By the way, I've got a funny story about white balance for when we get back. Maybe I'll save it because I don't want to say it online. Speaking of school photography. Babies, right? Like I was saying, you can specialize in certain avenues. Family photography. It's a family of monkeys. Food photography. I'd kind of lump that together with commercial, just generally commercial photography. Right? When you see a burger or something on a billboard, you see a big billboard for Arby's, and you're like, oh my gosh, that looks so good, because the meat is just like dripping. It's probably not like actual like meat dripping. It's probably not actually meat, actually. It's probably like covered in mineral oil or something to make it look juicy. Well, it's not actually juicy. It's probably like gross, motor oil or something. I have some funny videos. If you go on the Canvas page, down at the bottom of the home page, there's a really funny set of videos. I think it's closer to the end, that talks about food photography and just how fake that really is. McDonald's or whoever, when they hire food photographers, they make it plumper and bigger and much more appetizing than what you really get at the store. Vehicle photography, travel photography. Boy, a lot of people, travel the world, post it on Instagram. You could make money at that. Underwater photography. Yeah, maybe your camera has an underwater housing, but don't put your camera underwater unless it does. Stock photography. You could sell your pictures to a stock agency, like Shutterstock or some of the other, Almay, or no, I forget the name, 123 something. But anyway, stock photographers do make money per click. So that's why you see kind of random out there things. There's some funny, Reddit posts of like crazy different weird stock photography. The more out there the photography, the more likely it's unique, therefore someone's going to want to click on them. Now you could argue, okay, some of those are really weird, nobody would ever click on them, but when you're looking for a nun with a corn cob, you might go for that, right? I don't know, just there's crazy different stock photography. So yeah, you could make money at that. One of the more lucrative ones, I would say, especially here in the Salt Lake Valley, is being a wedding photographer. It is the sort of the entry level of choice, because so many people are getting married, right? There's so many people that get married coming out of all the different schools and stuff. But yeah, you can make easy money if you know what you're doing. And guess what? You guys know what you're doing. And I think there are two that are at the bottom of the barrel. One that I skipped not horses, the other ones. And then paparazzi is also the bottom of the barrel because just simply they chase people around that didn't ask to be chased around, and I'm not good with that. They for all the tabloids and the different magazines, it's like, can't we just leave these people alone? Why do we have to know what Brad Pitt is doing right now? We don't care. The last one I'll leave you with is long exposures. Oh my gosh, I love long exposures. They're so cool. Long exposures will typically have a low ISO, so the sensitivity is not very high. The aperture kind of depends. It depends on how bright you want the lights. If you want the lights brighter, you open the aperture. If you want them a little skinnier, smaller lights, then you'll go lower with that, and it'll be less bright. And then the shutter time varies greatly. You could have a shutter time, say, of, here, what's this one? 181 minutes. Holy smokes. That's, what, 3 hours-ish? Yeah, so you could, that's like 2.5 hours. So you could have, night, no, that is 3 hours. Yeah, I'm doing math. That's good. You could have a long exposure that shows like a little bit of a trail that's maybe, I don't know, what is this? Probably 2 seconds, 3 seconds. Here's the train going by on both sides. I guess it's like a mirror image. That's weird. Yeah, anyway, so, you've got, longer shutter time, shorter shutter time. This one's 6/1, so 6 seconds long. And some of these just turn out way cool. I'd love to see you guys experiment with this. You can also do what's called light painting. If and when we get back together after this weird hiatus, I would actually love to do light painting with you. We've done light painting in the studio before, my advanced class and previous classes that didn't have weird things going on like this. And we did light painting that turned out super, super cool in our studio. You can do light painting just like this, right? If you have some kind of light source, you set your camera up on a tripod. This one's just spiraling all the way down the road, and then they close the shutter. To do light painting, really to do any kind of long exposure, you need a tripod. You need a camera that has a remote input so that you can have a trigger. Do I have a trigger here? Where's my trigger? I think it's in my desk. Anyway, I'll just show you. I'll just, explain to you. You have this trigger that you lock in place, and then, you leave it open for as long as you need. And it's not going to get very much brighter because there aren't like big light sources like the sun. It's just, little lights. So you could leave it open for 2 minutes, 10 minutes. And there's very little difference between those because the light doesn't change all that much. There's not very much more light coming from off those small light sources, at night at least. It's very cool. You can get night exposures, right? Star trails or star galaxy exposures. And you can actually see the Milky Way. So cool. Anyway, so that's the portfolio project. And I would love for you guys to submit your 20 to 30 photos as JPEGs. Okay, you basically just put your name and portfolio 1, 2, 3, all the way up to however many you have, between 20 and 30. Now, the second portion of this that I'm actually going to make a separate video for is once you have your photos, you want to get them out in the world, right? You want to make an online portfolio about, your work and what you do. So that's where the second portion is. On Canvas, you're actually going to submit an online portfolio URL, okay? So here, let me read that part up above. Create an online portfolio, either like a Weebly or Google Sites. Honestly, Google Sites is the one that 99% of people use for this project because it's super easy and you can use your Granite SD account or use a personal Gmail. Any kind of website builder that's free, put your name on it. Just an email is fine as a contact. And then, of course, your 20 to 30 images. Now, your photos can be black and white or they can be color. Shoot with careful forethought to the exposure, the lighting, the composition. You can't just kind of take 20 photos of whatever and call it good. Like, you have to really think of, the forethought of, like, what am I interested in? What what am I doing that demonstrates who I am as a photographer? So you're not just taking 20 photos, you're taking probably hundreds of photos and then picking your favorites out of that. Now I get it, some people are taking photos on their phones, some have a DSLR, some people have a nice camera but they don't have a card reader, you know? So work with what you have, I get it, you know? Here at the school we've got card readers because we have, you know, SD card slots in all these computers. At home you might not be so lucky, or maybe you just use the cable that came with your camera, right? You have the little USB cable, you plug it in, and you download the photos into, you know, Windows Photo Viewer or whatever your camera, your computer happens to have. So anyway, most of these photos will be fresh for the assignment. If you're going to use old things, only use up to 5 past photos. I'm actually going to not worry about that for this project. If there are some old photos that you want to include, awesome, you can, but not from previous projects. If you've already submitted it for composition, or if you've already submitted it for exposure project or something, then no, you can't submit it for this one. But if you have some old stuff within this school year, not like 8th grade or some nonsense, if it's within this school year, you can also include that in your portfolio. Most of it, though, I would like it to be fresh photos for this assignment, right? Go explore. Go up the canyon. I know we're kind of limited as to what we're able to do and stuff, where we're able to go, but you know, how could we take photos without maybe interacting with people that could get you sick or get them sick or things? So you can also include things that you've done in Photoshop. So if you love some Lightroom work, some Photoshop work, please feel free to include that too. I would love for most of these to be fresh, but if you are going to include them in this, you know, not from old projects, but like older pictures, just within this school year, okay? I don't want to see like 9th grade pictures or 7th grade pictures, like old stuff. I want to see it fresh for this assignment mostly, okay? Awesome. So that's that. You guys are awesome. I've seen some great work from you. I've already gotten a couple of the Colorize project turned in. And hey, listen, for only listening to your teacher via a video, you guys did really good. And I'm proud of you for the way that you set it up and everything. I would say the biggest thing for Colorize, speaking of old stuff, is don't forget to save it the right way before you give it to me. Don't give me your PSD. That's your Photoshop file. That's your Photoshop document that has all the layers and stuff. I don't want to need to open it in Photoshop to look at it. I want to just see the final image. So don't forget to save it as a JPEG when you're done. So update your PSD one more time, file save or file save as, just to update your PSD. And then after that, go file save as, and then change the format to JPEG, right? And that will give me the final copy. Don't give me your PSD, give me the final copy that's the JPEG. You guys are awesome. If you do have any questions, let me know on Canvas. I hope to answer those as quickly as I can. I look at Canvas at least 2, maybe 3 times a day so that we can, you know, update and help you out. And I'm checking my email a lot. Whatever you guys need, I'm here for you. Okay. Thanks for listening in today. This is going to be a fun assignment. Hopefully, like I said, photography can be sort of an outlet for you. Speaking of allowing yourself some hobbies, some interests, that just to break the monotony, you know. Don't forget your social connections. Stay connected. Maybe we can't be connected physically. I keep joking with my wife that after all this, we're just going to have a huge block party with all our neighbors, right? We're just going to like connect again because it has been a little lonely, you know, but we have been able to connect with some people, just maybe not physically. You know, we can't get close to them, we can't come over, things like that. Do treat it seriously. I don't want anyone getting sick because they're like, I would never get sick, and then turns out, yeah, you did because you like hung out with people or something. So, you know, just be smart. You know, isolate yourself, but don't isolate yourself socially, right? Don't just curl up into a ball and hope it goes away one day, because then, you know, it will go away one day, but I don't want to see that you like didn't, you know, that you had such a hard time emotionally because we forgot our social connections. Don't forget to keep checking back in on Canvas. You guys are awesome. I miss you. Love you. Later. There.